This happened in a time when kingdoms were built on power and fear. There was a vast empire. Its fortresses touched the sky. Its armies guarded every border. The markets were full. Gold coins clinked in the air. Thick carpets covered the royal halls. The king was known for his strength. His word was law. His silence was judgment. His anger was punishment. But behind all that glory, there was a secret. The king could not sleep at night when the court emptied, when the torches burned low. When the music stopped, he sat alone in his chamber. He would stare at the sky through his window and feel a quiet, nameless anxiety inside his chest that he had everything: treasures, algers, honor, power, but no peace. One night he asked himself, is this success? Is this what it means to be a king? The next morning he made a strange decision. He removed his royal robes, put on simple clothes, and walked into the city alone. No guards, no crown, no royal escort. He wanted to see how ordinary people lived. The market was alive. Vendors called out. Scales weighed goods. Children laughed. But in the middle of all that noise, his eyes stopped. Under an old tree sat a man, a beggar. His clothes were worn, his face darkened by the sun. A wooden staff rested in his hand, yet his face carried a peace the king had never seen inside his palace. The king watched him for a while, then slowly walked over and sat beside him. For the first time in his life, he felt that maybe the answer to his question was not on the throne, but on the ground. They sat in silence. The market sounds continued around them. But under that tree, there was a different kind of quiet. The beggar opened his eyes. He looked at the king. There was no fear in his gaze, no surprise, no hope for benefit, only simplicity. The king spoke first. How can you sit here so calmly? You have no house, no wealth, no servants. Aren't you worried? The beggar looked at the sky, then smiled gently. Worry belongs to the one who thinks he is the owner, he said. I am only a traveler. Those words went straight into the king's heart. He had always seen himself as the owner of land, owner of wealth, owner of people's futures. But this man called himself only a traveler. The king asked again, aren't you afraid of tomorrow? What if you have nothing to eat? The beggar answered softly, tomorrow belongs to the one who gave me today. The one who has sustained me until now will sustain me again. My job is to be grateful, not to calculate. The words were simple, but deep. The king realized he had spent his entire life calculating every risk, every threat, every betrayal. He had built walls to protect his kingdom, but had imprisoned his heart. What is your greatest wealth? The king asked. Certainty, the beggar replied. And if that is taken from you, then I have lost everything. Even if I own the world? The king fell silent. For the first time, he questioned himself. Did he have certainty in his power? Or in his Lord? The wind moved through the marketplace. Leaves shook in the tree above them, but something else had shaken. The king's pride. He walked back toward his palace, but he kept turning around to look at the beggar. The same simple clothes, the same stillness, the same peace, and a new question began forming inside him. Is true kingship what I thought it was? Days passed. The court was the same. The ministers were the same. The decisions were the same. But the king was not the same. When he sat on the throne, he remembered the tree. When the treasury was counted, he remembered certainty. When generals spoke of war, he asked himself, is power really everything? Finally, one day, he summoned the beggar to the palace. The court was decorated in full splendor. Golden bowls, expensive carpets, perfumed air. The beggar entered in his simple clothes. Some looked at him with disgust, some with curiosity. The king placed a bowl filled with gold coins before him. "Take this," he said. "Your life will become easier. You won't need to sit under that tree." Silence filled the hall. The beggar looked at the gold dot, then at the king. His voice was calm, but firm. "If I take this, I will begin to fear losing it. I will stay awake at night protecting it. I have found peace. I did not come to sell it." Whispers spread in the court, but inside the king, there was stillness. For the first time, he understood something. What he considered a blessing could be a burden for someone else. What then is true wealth? The king asked quietly. "A heart that bows before God," the beggar replied, "and a soul that is not enslaved by desire." The words struck deep. That day, the king had the gold removed, but he kept something else. A new, standard dot. He understood that the greatest test of power is not ruling others, it is ruling yourself. That night, he bowed in prayer without pride. "O Lord," he whispered, "make me a king who is not a slave to his own ego." His life slowly began to change, not loudly, not publicly, quietly. He reduced taxes. He set aside wealth for widows and orphans. He reopened cases of prisoners. People were surprised. Some were happy. Some were concerned. But the king's voice had changed, less harsh, more thoughtful. One night, on the palace rooftop, under a clear sky full of stars, he asked the beggar, "Did you ever wish to be a king?" The beggar smiled. The one who controls his soul is the true king. The one enslaved by his desires is a prisoner. Even on a throne, the sentence stayed in the air. Like a mirror, the king had ruled others for years, but never himself. "Should I give everything up?" he asked. The beggar shook his head. "Leaving is not required. Changing is. If you sit on the throne with justice, humility, and the awareness that you are a trustee, not an owner, then your kingship becomes worship." That was the moment the king understood. The problem was never wealth, authority. It was the heart. Years passed. Kingdom remained strong, but its spirit changed. People remembered the king for justice and humility. Then one day, news came. The beggar was ill. The king went to him personally. No court, no luxury. Just the same tree, the same earth, the same simple blanket. The beggar's breath was light, but his face still carried peace. The king sat beside him. This time, not to question, but to listen. "Remember," the beggar whispered, "thrones do not last. Palaces do not last. Treasures do not last. Only deeds remain." The king's eyes filled with tears. "True success is where the final account will be," the beggar continued. "If you succeed there, you have succeeded here. If you fail there, nothing here mattered." Moments later, he passed away. The wind grew still. The king wept. Not before people, before God. That day he bowed not as a ruler, but as a servant. Years later, people remembered him as a just king, but he knew his real transformation did not begin on the throne. It began under a tree. Islam teaches us this. True king is not the one who rules land. True king is the one who rules his own soul. Wealth in the hand is a blessing. Wealth in the heart is a disease. Authority as a trust becomes worship, and peace is not found in markets. It is found in certainty. This story is not just about a king. It is about all of us. We are kings of our small worlds, our homes, our jobs, our choices. The question is not how much we have. The question is what we are doing with it. And maybe, under some quiet tree in our own life, we too will find a mirror that shows us what true kingship really means.